Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video, who offers thousands of inspiring classes for creative and curious people on topics including photography, illustration, design, and filmmaking. With it currently being a bit difficult to get negative film developed by a lab, I thought it was about time to take another look at what's available to the mass market in regards to instant film in 2020. So I picked up two of the most popular kinds of film to take some side-by-side photos to show you a comparison, not necessarily to decide which one is the technically better film, but maybe to give you a better understanding of what's available and maybe what you'd prefer to shoot in the future. Instant film is pretty much always being worked on, and this is particularly true with Polaroid Originals, who used to be known as the Impossible Project. The emulsion's been updated a bunch over the years, and it's definitely got a lot better from when I first tried it. So if you have shot Polaroids, but not maybe in the last year, it might actually be completely different to how you remember it. So the two films that I got are the Polaroid Originals Color 600 film and the Instax Square colour film. For the Polaroid film, I'll be shooting it on the talking camera, which is a 636, which I used in a video recently, and then for the Instax, I'll be using a Lomo Instant Square. So I walked around the local neighbourhood and took some photos. Nothing particularly interesting. There's not much on my fingertips right now to take photos of, but lots of green stuff with varying niceness of light. So maybe it's not the most exciting photos, but hopefully they can serve as somewhat of an example. Top tip, if you're shooting Polaroids, always wear a shacket, one with good pockets. Perfect for keeping the film safe and away from light whilst it's developing. So the first clear difference between the two types of film is the size. Polaroid's film is much bigger. It's the classic shape, which is iconic for Polaroids, which means it can be used in the classic cameras like the one I'm using, or new ones which Polaroid are also producing. Whereas the smaller Instax Square is inspired by this shape, but it's a bit more smaller and pocket-sized, and you can only use it in cameras which are made specifically for this film type, which only came out relatively recently, so all of the cameras are new. Personally, I prefer the shape of the 600 film. Just having more print is nice, you can't complain. It definitely looks nicer. Whether or not it might actually be sharper, I just think Instax Square could be even better if it was this size. The next major difference to me is the developing time. When you take a Polaroid, the image is squeezed out through some rollers, which spreads the chemicals out of the bottom of the frame and onto the film, which develops it into an image. With Instax film, this is pretty quick, being able to see most of the image in around a minute, whereas the 600 film takes around 30 minutes to fully develop. And during this time, it's also highly light sensitive, so it's pretty impractical. However, this is where the shacket comes into play again. But yeah, it's painful not knowing if your exposure is correct for that long. Like when I was walking around taking these photos, by the time I'd looked at them, the scene is long gone. I'm not going to go and reshoot it, and also, that would be expensive. So to me, this round definitely goes to Instax. So next up is colours. And the Instax in general is amazing. It's quite lifelike. It's not necessarily as aesthetic as Polaroid's film is, but it's really good and it's accurate. Whereas the Polaroid film, you're probably going to get more hit points for it. It often has quite a strong colour cast, and this can depend on what batch of film it is, how old it is, and also the ambient temperature of when it was taken and developed. And I don't think there's a clear better option here. It's way more of a personal preference. I think you can take really nice kind of arty photos with the Polaroid, whereas opposed to the Instax lends well to just anything. And I guess the final important factor for me is the price. So I bought 2 packs of the Instax Square film, which was 20 photos, which came to £17, which is 85p per photo, which isn't too bad. However, the Polaroid Originals was £16 for 8 photos at £2 a shot, so it's quite a huge difference. It's way more expensive. And whether or not that's worth it, I'm going to leave that up to you to decide, because I think both have the time and a place, and it's definitely a user's preference. So finally, I'd like to thank Skillshare again for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers membership to a vast variety of online classes across a bunch of different fields. Whether you're interested in learning more about photography or filmmaking, or you want to pick up something completely new, there's so much to explore. My good friend Dan Rubin has a few different classes all about photography, and there's a bunch more made by other people too, whether you're interested in learning more about shooting, lighting, or maybe editing. And another class I've done recently is Ryan Booth's DIY cinematography. There's a bunch to learn here, from practical skills about making video to lighting and cinematography. It's definitely a great one to check out. But what's amazing is this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to explore, so if you want to check out Skillshare, click the link in the description to get 2 months of premium membership and explore your creativity. So thank you very much for watching. Hopefully there'll be another video soon. I've got a few interesting things arriving, so hopefully we'll have some fun.